Hey there viewers, and welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. So we got us this 05 Subaru. It's got the 2.5 single overhead cam in it, naturally aspirated, and it has a problem that's been plaguing it for a couple months. And I've attempted to repair it for this lady, but can never duplicate the symptom. So what happens is occasionally you'd be driving this thing down the road and it just loses all power, money lights on, it's flashing. And then, boop, it'll go running good again, and it may not do it for another month. It's happened to her mostly during a hot soak situation. So drive it, let's say, 10, 15 miles, you park it, you run into the store, 5 minutes later you come back out, you start it up, and it will act up. But every time, you shut it off and it clears up, doesn't do it, throws a P0300 random cylinder misfire, and then that's it, no other clues, and then it may not do it. I mean, you could do that 20 times and it might only do it 1 out of 20. In this case it's been about 2 months and it's done it again, but this time it did it on a cold start. She started up at her house, took off with it, and it immediately started doing it. So she limped it over here and parked it. It's been sitting outside a couple days. Just got around to where I could check it out. I went out there, started it, pulled the codes, P0300. I was letting it warm up a little bit, getting some data on the screen, and it did it. It started skipping right there, so I jumped out of it frantically. Didn't even have the scan tool hooked, up where I needed it to be yet. And it sounded to me like it was dropping out 2 cylinders. So I, started yanking off plug wires, and number 1 and number 2 on this car, companion cylinders, had no spark or intermittent spark, because it started to run good again and it ran bad and it ran good. So needless to say, I finally seen it do it. Now we can, properly diagnose it, hopefully catch it again. Hopefully it's still going to do it. So I pulled it inside, I grabbed the wire diagram. Being that we know it is a no spark situation on 1 and 2, we can take a big fat guess, $150 coil, and might be wrong, might be right too. I assume it's a coil, but you guys know as well as I do, we never assume because you'll get burned. So here is the ignition coil. We have a power feed going to it, a ground going to it, and 2 control wires. It's a waste spark system, so this fires 2 plugs at the same time, companion cylinders, 1 on exhaust, 1 on compression. So what we need to do now to verify it, check power and ground at it, which we know is there because the car works and it's only dropping 2 cylinders, so really no need to check those. But what we want to do is we want to grab our scope and hook onto the control wires to make sure the coil is receiving the proper signal at the same time it's dropping out cylinders 1 and 2. If it has both signals and it's just not firing, it's nothing more than a bad ignition coil. We're going to use our P code to do this. I don't know what kind of signal the ECM sends to it, whether it's a 5 volt or a 12 volt. I guess it doesn't really matter. And I also don't know which, I know pins 1 and 4, I believe it is here. Controls are number 1 and 4, which coil they fire, but again, that's kind of irrelevant. Because if both signals are there, excuse me, if both signals are there, I really don't care which cylinder they feed. However, if one is missing, then, we'll investigate it a little bit further. That's kind of my thoughts on that. Sometimes you can spend a lot of time figuring that kind of stuff out, but it's really not necessary. So we'll see if we can't very gingerly backprobe. I hate backprobing sometimes, because, especially on intermittents, because did your back probe come loose? Got to get right beside that insulation, not cross any terminals. Hopefully that's in. Again, hopefully the car acts up. I mean, that's the big thing. Coil failures on Subarus are relatively common. So got both them back probed. Hopefully they're in good. Got our ground hooked up, just got our wires up out of the way. We'll get our scope set up now. I went ahead and added a 3rd channel. So we're just gonna set this on 20 volt. We'll set channel B on 20 volt also. And then the 3rd channel, I added an ignition probe on cylinder number, what number is that? Number 2. So we can see secondary ignition verify that it disappears and then whether or not it also loses signal. Okay, I don't know if we need that inverted, but let's, oops, a little too high there, fella. 20 kV should be good. We'll go ahead and start it up, see what happens. Let's take and set this like, oops, 100 milliseconds per division, no trigger, okay. Gonna crank it. Alright. Shut it off for just a second. Let's invert, or uninvert rather. Devert, how's that? Oh, proper terminology, there we go. Now our secondary ignition should be good. Okay. So these are two control signals to the coil. Here's our secondary ignition down here. Now let's see if it drops out on us. Our higher spikes in our secondary voltage are the compression stroke. The last time it did it, like I say, it was just warming up, and I turned on the defroster, kind of lugged the engine down just a little bit, and that's when it happened, so fingers crossed. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so we lost secondary ignition, but we did not lose our pickup or our control wire. So that 100% verifies it. Let me give it a little gas here. See if it comes back to life. Nope. Last time it was real intermittent, so we can see will go on. Yeah, our roughness monitor's already got them picked out, so we'll see it's cylinders 1 and 2 that are dropped right out, but we still have our control to the coil. And just shut it off. Let's see if it works now. No, dead dead. Start it one more time. Like I said, this thing's been super intermittent. I'm very thankful that it quit. Yeah. Oh, she's dead in the water. Good. Alright, well that's quick and easy. I'm glad this car finally quit on it because it's been plaguing this thing for several months now, but it was so intermittent. For whatever reason, the conditions right today, whether it be temperature or just the fact that the coil has decided to finally quit. I've never had much time into the car prior because I always tried to duplicate the symptom, prior to testing. In which case that just meant, grabbing the scan tool, driving around, looking at freeze frame data, listening to the customer first and foremost, driving it, letting it heat soak, and have never been able to duplicate it. If it was my own car, I would have threw a coil on it a long time ago, but the customer's money is not my money to just go winging parts at it without 100% verification. You guys know I won't do that. It's just not good business. You throw a coil on it and come to find out, it's got some wonky, crank sensor problem and it's losing, control. So I'm not going to make that mistake if I can avoid it. So I guess next thing we got to see if we can find the ignition coil for this, get it put on, and it should run good and smooth. All right, Napper has one. It's on its way. I know this video may seem silly to some folks, but I guess the point of it is test don't guess. That's what we always say. In this case, if I did guess, I would have been right. But if you're wrong, it starts getting real expensive real fast. You know, we get the horror story, you know, daily. You know, the classic, you know, had it at the other shop, you know, blah, blah, blah. You guys know the story. Put $1,000 worth of parts on it, and it still runs like crap, so. Had one, well, I don't see any physical damage on it. A lot of times these Subaru coils, the way they fail, not so much this style coil, but the other style coil they have, they'll physically crack, and they'll start, you know, sometimes they'll crack on the coil towers, and, you know, they'll carbon track, usually causing a single cylinder miss. Hooray, it's here. Now, oh, it's just like the factory one. It's even got the little labeling on it, the factory one. Sometimes the Napa Eklund stuff is nothing more than reboxed OEM stuff, is what I have found. It's not uncommon to open a box and see, like, you know, Motorcraft or something on it. See more and more companies. Sometimes you get lucky with BWD and it's like that, but of course they all claim to be, you know, OEM. Whatever, dude. All right, I'll torque this down with a torque wrench. It's a one Ugga Dugga, very light Ugga Dugga. That's it, that's factory spec. Put a little dielectric grease in our connectors. Alright. Beautiful, good to go. You ever try to make a video at close to quitting time on a Friday? Alright, we're going to clear codes out of it here. Alright, okay, there we go. Alright, so we should be good. Typical Subaru, you always get the long extended crank after the code clear. Not uncommon. And then now on the second start, it should start nice and easy. Like I say, pretty typical for a Subaru, so I'm just going to pull up some data stream. I just want to pull up, turning nice and smooth right now. We'll take it for a little shake here. Alright, there we go. Oh, man, they got freaking cold. Let's better turn on some headlights too, huh? Get some heat turned on this joint. Where is it? There we go. Let's see. I'm confident with our repair. We really don't need to test drive it, but just to make sure it didn't foul spark plugs or anything silly, which I doubt that it did. Windshield a little bit cloudy here. Pet peeve of mine, I always gotta have my glass like super clean in my vehicles. Sometimes we get some customers that come in, they're heavy smokers. Man, you can't, you get the cars coming at you, you can't see out the window at all. It's just like this nasty, like, tarry crap on the window. Take a snow scraper and get it off. Whatever. Oh, now my turn signal. There we go. Better late than never, I always say. Well, she runs like a Subaru. What's up, Mrs. O?
Working.
Huh? Working?
Working.
Oh man, look at you pulling that OT.
Where's my bonus? That's
It's in the mail.
what they always say.
Hello, children. You don't want to be on the TV, Trinity? Huh? How come you hate the YouTube now? What are you hiding for?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing. You just can't see me.
You just what?
You can't see me.
Oh, okay. All right, say goodbye. That's it, folks. In and out. Wham bambino, I like to say. 100% verification. I know it's something simple. I know you could have guessed it would have been correct. I need to be 100%, dealing with the public and, people paying me to work on their cars. I need to be able to give them an answer, and I have to have the proof, first and foremost, to say, here's what it is, no questions asked, and sayonara. I guess we'll leave it at that. Questions, comments, criticisms, concerns in the comment box below. Let me know what your process is. Is it your habit to just, pull up the parts cannon and launch it in a situation like this where odds are it is the coil? Or what do you do? Let me know. And also, when you're down there in the comment section, click the subscription button and the notification bell down there. Find us on Patreon, Google Plus, and Facebook. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.